and welcome to the fourth episode of the Real Deal Bricks and Beyond. My name is Victoria Ajikum and I'm from On Point Property Management Limited.
Yes, and my name is Anna Ajikum. If you've been following our episodes, we have a very, very exciting guest today and a topic that really gets overlooked, really, in life. So today we're going to be speaking about estate planning and wills. And we have our industry expert with us today called Mr. Patrick Morris, who will be giving us some really insightful insights. So really excited because there's a lot for us to learn here today. So Patrick, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, we're really thrilled to have you here today. And I'm sure in your profession you come across this where many people don't know what they need to do when it comes to estate planning and wills, and especially culturally, especially us being of African descent, wills are associated with death. So people just don't speak about it.
Doom and gloom.
So just give us sort of your experience. I know you've got 10 years experience?
10 years plus been running the business. I have been running the business.
Amazing.
My experience is exactly as you described. You speak to people, introduce yourself, and it's like a boo-boo subject. It's very no-no. They want to hide. They feel as if you're wishing death on them.
Yes.
And it's not that. As times has changed and we've moved on and we've acquired more, hopefully, we've inherited more, we've worked, we've earned more, you need to protect your finances. And there's different ways of protecting and different levels, which is why wills and estate planning is so important.
Absolutely. So what would you say, especially for anyone listening now, you've just explained the importance of it, because we need to protect our wealth and we're earning more and should be having more. What are the elements, what's the difference between estate planning and a will?
Okay, a will is basically someone expressing their wishes as to what they want to happen when the inevitable happens.
Yeah.
Estate planning goes in a bit more deeper, it's a bit more holistic. It looks at not just your will, but it looks at everything you want to have and acquire and beyond. So a will can be once in a lifetime, it's done. You don't need to review it for another 3 to 5 years. Estate planning, it's about planning what's going to happen to everything that you have or you inherit going forward for the next generation, protecting it from tax, protecting yourself from falling ill and from not earning any money, or just protecting everything for the grandchildren, which is important.
No, absolutely, super important.
So, these are key areas where you say, people tend to think if I write a will, that's it.
Yeah.
Is it a moving picture or is it just solid? That's it. I've written it and it can never ever change. If someone remarries, what's
okay, so as your life changes, you need to review your situation. And it's not just with your wills, but in this factor, we're talking about wills. As your life changes, you need to review your will and your situation, because as your life changes, your will needs to change if you get married, if you get divorced. We now live in an era where we have what we call blended families. You've been in more than one relationship, you've got children in this relationship, this person has a child from that relationship. What happens when you come together? What happens to that wealth? How does it get distributed to the child of your choice? So it's important to sit down and have those conversations.
Yeah, because I think importantly, I heard, and you can give us the facts here, once you remarry again, if you don't update the will, everything would go to your new spouse. Previous kids, do they get included?
The children, the previous spouse, technically no, because that decree nisi is treating you as you are dead to that individual. You passed on, you're no longer in existence in that relationship. But from the children's point of view, it's different because you have a duty of care to protect and provide for your children, no matter what age they're at. So even if they're older and you've acquired wealth and you get involved in a new relationship, it's important to consider what are you going to leave your children if they're in their 30s, 40s and 50s and they start having children. Because you don't want that family dynamic breaking down where daddy or mummy's left the child out from the previous relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
so you need to make them aware of the dangers of that.
And that's also very important. I was going to say, what are the consequences if that's not in place?
Yeah.
And then you've just mentioned taxes. I mean, that's something that we cannot avoid. But I guess with this in place, you can do sort of tax planning. What are the different strategies that you could advise someone?
So when it comes to estate planning, inheritance tax is a big issue for people when their estates are growing. So every individual is entitled to £325,000 tax threshold.
Yeah.
Anything over and above that, you can get if you're leaving your assets to direct bloodline descendants. All right, they could be entitled to an extra £175,000, which takes it to £500,000. Okay. So you have a husband or wife together, leaving their assets to direct bloodline descendants, £1 million. Okay. Now, take into account you live in southeast of England, property prices, everything that you've acquired, you can quite get to that and above. So you need to start thinking from early on, not on your deathbed. Sorry to say it like that, but you need to start thinking earlier on, how are you going to manage this? Lots of people have different ways about it. I've met so many clients over the years, don't care about it, let them deal with it after I've gone. If that's their wish, that's their wish. Some people want to take a more strategic approach as to how they deal with it. Taxes are unavoidable. You're going to have to pay something. What you pay depends on your circumstances and your situation.
Okay.
One of the best ways to avoid it, spend it, give it away, and protect it.
Yeah.
All right? Those are the best ways to deal with it. Outside of that, there are different things you can do to protect your estate from inheritance tax. But there are other taxes involved as well. That's the main one that people tend to associate their estate with.
Yeah, because there's case scenarios where why wait for death in order to transfer assets? You could do that while you're alive.
You can do that in your lifetime. And that works, and then it doesn't work for some people. But it's to have those discussions and to explore the options, and also to point out the pros and cons of doing it. Why would I do it that way? Why would I not do it that way?
Absolutely.
You girls are in the property business, you young ladies, sorry, are in the property business. People are acquiring property and they're growing at an alarming rate. What happens to that, or those property portfolio outside of your main estate or your main residence? How can you deal with that? How is that catered for? Under the current tax laws, under the current inheritance laws, what can you do with it? So all those things we can discuss, and there's different ways of dealing with it.
That's a prime point you just made. We have clients who are buying abroad. What's the tax implications for that? Does it have to be? Do they have to have a will per se in the UK? Do they then have to have a lawyer presented in Ghana? That's the first point of call which we can ask about. So, for example, a buyer in the UK, buying in Ghana, do they then have to have a lawyer write out their will in Ghana, or does it marry together
with the UK?
Technically, your UK will covers UK law. Okay, so Ghana, Jamaica, Germany, Czechoslovakia is not UK law. All right. So if you have assets in a foreign country, but you remain in the UK and you're here for a period of time, this is your main residence, technically it's best to have a will created in the country where your assets reside. All right. Tax laws are different. Tax laws are different. Inheritance laws are different. There's so many different factors that local specialist lawyer can advise you on in relation to your assets. We can make mention of your UK asset, your foreign assets in your UK will, but it has no power. It's there for information. It's there for guidance. It's there to make information or make people aware there is another will in another country. And that's for the benefit of the executors, because they're the ones who are going to fulfill your wishes. They're the ones that have the real work to do.
That actually leads me on to sort of my next question. I mean, it's really fascinating here, and it's something that when we're advising our clients, hence why you're on the show today, it's the protocol that we ask them to do, get this wills and estates in place. But you've just said something about executors. What is an executor and what's their role in this?
Okay, so an executor is someone that executes your wishes within the will. They're the person who are going to carry the responsibility of fulfilling the duties of the will. The executor will be speaking with the probate solicitors. They will be speaking to the general authorities about the death certificate, insurance, money, bank, all paper. They're the go-to individual. And it can be quite daunting, subject to the estate. Also, you have to be aware that you've gone through a bereavement. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of memories. To then pick up an envelope or a paper or to take a phone call, it's like, I don't want to deal with this now. So they do give you time. But once you're named as an executor and you accept that responsibility, then it's your responsibility to work with myself to get the process rolling so that we can start to plan to distribute the estate the way that the individual wanted the estate to be distributed from their will.
And does an executor have to be a direct family member, or could it be someone else?
Once, at the end of the day, when we're creating the will and you name your executor, I'm going to question you about it.
Yeah.
Is this person reliable?
Yeah.
Are they trustworthy? What's your relationship like with them?
Yeah.
Are they of an age? Are they mature enough?
Yeah.
You don't really want your 80-year-old grandmother to be your executor.
Absolutely,
But people do say, you can have more than one executor.
Yeah.
You can have a reserve executor. You can have a professional executor.
Such as a solicitor
someone myself, or an accountant.
Or yourself,
Yeah, anybody that may be used to dealing with paperwork and legal information and numbers of that kind of sort. You can name a reserve executor. So if the main executor or one or two of the main executors feel they can no longer fulfill the role, then the reserve one can step in. There's so many different ways to deal with it, but it's to be flexible and it's to be understanding and to make sure we make the right choices. And if you make the wrong choice, you can change it. You can review it. You can make some changes.
I guess a will is living. As long as you're alive, you can keep changing it and make changes. And I think that executor role, as you just said, is crucial because that is the person who you're entrusting really to when you're no longer here or in capacity. We're talking about a lot of, obviously, when we're not here. Quite interestingly, is there a living will or a trust that people can consider, especially in the property? Imagine you're buying a property here or in Ghana, you exchange on the property and say something happens and you either no longer have capacity to complete the will or you pass away. Is there anything in place? Because you can imagine that situation, someone exchanging on a property in the middle of a transaction, and life happens.
Life happens. It's a challenging one because there are services like lasting power of attorney. All right, lasting power of attorney, you have one for property and financial affairs. You have one for health and welfare. Okay, so when you complete a lasting power of attorney and it is authorized, it's certified, it's gone through, you've appointed an attorney to manage your affairs when you are no longer in the country, when you mentally or physically can't manage your affairs. Okay, with regards to property transaction, to do a lasting power of attorney before or while it's going through is going to be a challenge because they take a while to get registered. But once they're registered, it can be done. Now, I think a conveyancing lawyer would advise you, if you had that query, as to what the options are available if a situation like arose. Once you've acquired your assets, you mentioned the word trust. There are different kinds of trusts. So you have a trust within your will, which activates when you close your eyes. You have a trust which activates in your lifetime. So they call it a lifetime trust or a will trust. Now, under the trust heading, you have different types of trusts which do different things depending on what you want. But in both cases, you remain in control of the trust. And you can change your mind with a lifetime trust. You can name yourself as the settler, so you're settling the trust. And you name the beneficiaries. and you name the trustees, the people who are going to manage it for the benefit of the beneficiaries. All right? As the settlor, in a lifetime trust, you can make any changes you want in your lifetime.
Okay.
Depending on the type of trust. Because you have a trust they call an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust, which means you have the option to change your mind or not change your mind.
Okay.
Why you would have one or the other, different discussion, but it goes quite deep, yeah? Then you have a will trust, which activates when the will activates.
Yeah.
It doesn't activate before.
Before.
So in both cases, you can decide how you want your estate to be run, and you can always change your mind.
Yeah, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
You can change your mind, there's options,
Yeah.
but I think the guidelines of what you're saying is it's best to be organised the minute you have.
Yeah.
And I think even before we came on, we was asking the question of what
Yeah, what's the age? What age do you write a will from? What's the minimum age?
You can write an age from the age of 18.
18.
Yeah. Are they mature enough? Who knows? Are they wealthy enough? Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, you can present on
You
your
can
18th
present.
birthday.
Here's a will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it can be done. How many 18-year-olds have a will? I don't know. I've never done a will for an 18-year-old, but the options are there.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to.
No, that's really good to
Yeah.
know. And I guess, you know, conversations like this, especially from our communities where it's still a taboo, it's huge. I think it's good that we're able to have these conversations, and I'm sure there are endless questions that surround it.
Yeah.
You know, and someone out there may think, well, I don't have property, I don't have assets, but if you have children.
If you have children, you've got a life.
And then if anything happens to you in the will, other than like what happens to children,
Exactly.
can you put in the will, you know, maybe people are just single parents, maybe the other parents are deceased. Is there instructions that you can put in the will
Yes, you
for
can.
the care of the child?
Of the guardian.
Yeah, the
care of
guardian.
the child.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Jamaican culture, we have godparents.
Yes.
Yeah, in my day, it was very popular.
Yes.
It's not so popular now, but that was exactly their role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
if the
the
parents were no longer there to look after the child, the godparents would step in.
Yeah.
And you can create that within your will. Yeah, that you have a guardian. Don't call them godparents; you call them a guardian to look after a minor.
Yeah.
And in there, you can say how you want that child to be brought up.
Yep.
Christian, non-Christian, school, sports, no sports, whatever. How the estate is going to be managed for the child and when they're likely to get it. You can mention all those information within the will to give the people those choices.
As you think, I think that the devil's in the detail. Really.
Yes, it is.
That's it.
Yes,
It
it
really
is.
The more you can put in, make it crystal clear.
Yeah.
I think it also helps with those who are left to do the right thing. I mean, a personal story to us is with our own father. Been badgering him to do a will, you know, he's a traditional African. No, I don't need to do one. And then he suddenly said, yeah, actually, let me do one.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that he wrote all his instructions.
Yeah.
He died 2 weeks later before he
I'm
signed
sorry
it.
to hear that. Yeah.
But it just goes to show that the importance. I think we were so happy that we had the conversation. We had the will writer type it up.
Yeah.
It was literally left to sign. But I just thought, if he didn't write that instruction, especially the care of his brothers and sisters, you know, there was
Intricate details.
there was intricate details in there that we were fortunate to know.
Yeah.
And as a family, we have abided by everything.
Yeah. And it
he
makes it easier
told
on
us.
you.
And it made it so easy. So I kid you not. I mean, for anyone who's listening and, you know, and especially family, it's really contentious.
Yeah.
These sorts of topics is that even if you're scared to come to a professional like yourself, write it down.
Write it down.
And, you know, we've known you now for a while. You're very friendly and efficient. And it's nothing to be scared of. Just imagine just, you know, you sign a mortgage, it needs details. You get your mobile phone out, it has contracts. Why not protect your assets?
What people need to realize, and especially the way that I work, I can't speak for everybody else, but I care.
Yeah.
All right? I care badly for my people. All right? People of Black, African, Jamaican, West Indian descent. Okay? it's not something we're typically used to talking about.
Yeah.
All right? In the country where my parents were from, when mum and dad wanted to leave home, granddad said, go and take a piece of land over there.
Yeah,
And
it
that
was
is
just
yours.
verbally,
Word of mouth,
word
nothing
of
written
mouth.
down, nothing
Yeah.
recorded. And they've done that for centuries.
Yeah.
And they've come here with the same mindset.
Yeah.
And they feel as if, well, I signed this piece of paper or I said this, and they've put it in a bag, in a case, under the bed, in the corner of a wardrobe somewhere.
In a suitcase.
And it's important to understand that there are people out there that care about what you do.
Yeah.
They will take the pain away and the taboo away so that it makes it easy for you to make your decision.
Yeah.
So in the caring is understanding the cultural nuances.
Yes.
Understanding generation, my mum and dad, how you speak to them is totally different to my generation or the generation below me.
Correct.
And it's understanding how you approach them, give them time to express themselves and understand what they're saying and then repeat it back to them so that they feel they're part of the conversation and the decision-making process.